Thank you, Christina. Okay. Christina Pinkley is our guest this evening. She's from Geauga Public Health, and I believe she's going to discuss septic system operational permits. Christina, the floor is yours.
All right, hey, thank you. I don't know if any of you were here about a year ago when I came. We were just starting the rollout of the state mandated operation and maintenance program for septic systems around then. So it's been a year. Wanted to give you guys an update, both about like kind of our progress in the program, but especially we're coming up on, following up on the people who haven't done what they're supposed to do based on their permit. So we started, I'm sorry, I'm trying to like figure out where to kind of start with, but basically there's 30,000 septic systems in Geauga County, and the state said in 2015, all local health departments have to start issuing ongoing operation permits to anyone with a residential septic system so that we can track and make sure people are maintaining their systems to a minimum standard. And that's just so we can pollute the environment, make people sick, or create nuisances. The health department held off for nearly 10 years to see if the rule would stick. It's still here, so we do have to comply with the state mandate, but they didn't provide any funding to run the program when they made that mandate. So we do have to charge an operation permit fee to cover the cost of running the program. Of those 30,000, we probably have about 5,000 systems throughout the county entered at this point. We started with the systems that we consider higher risk because they rely on mechanical components that can go bad. And if the mechanical component isn't working well, the whole system isn't working well. So we started with those systems. If any of you have heard of the MPDES discharging systems, it's like a mini sewage treatment plant right in your yard. It treats the wastewater and then it discharges it into a road, ditch, storm sewer, stream, creek, that kind of thing. And then there's other ones that may just have an aerator, and it still goes to leach lines, but that aerator is really important for the functioning of that system. And so those are the ones in this area that have gotten their permit so far. Both of those types that have mechanical, like aeration, most of them are aeration. Could be like drip irrigation, but we have very few of those in Geauga County, or peat modules. But really it's the aerators that are the bulk of those things that are on 1-year permits. We're coming up on 1 year exactly from when we issued the first of those permits in Auburn. So their permits actually started July 1st and went to the end of June, and require that they get either one pumping or a service for their system in that year time. So a couple weeks back when I checked through our records, there were about 26, I think there were 26 properties in Auburn that still had not gotten a pump report or service turned into us.
So are these basically new homes that have these aerator? Because in 55 we didn't have that. We had ground.
They're newer, but you'd be surprised. They had aerators, I think, even kind of back in the 80s, 80s and 90s. I mean,
way back in the 80s.
Okay.
We almost bought a instead of the lot we had now, we had one across the street, and it was only set for 3-bedroom. And we could have got that and set it for 5 with an aerator. So that's going back to about 90 when we first looked at the property. So.
And that's exactly right. A lot of times, why that aerator is so crucial, even if there's leach lines after it and it's being all treated on your lot, oftentimes that was doing some pre-treatment to compensate for maybe not having as much leach line. It's not going to be able to get as much treatment in the soil. So those are the ones that we're coming up on. A couple weeks ago when I pulled that list, we did send certified warning letters to people. We had sent postcards previous to that, I think like about 2.5 or 3 months out. At the 2-month mark-ish, 1.5 maybe by the time we got to it, we sent out the certified warning letters, and then probably this week we're going to send out another. We did send out a blast email. We'll send out another one of those if we have an email on file, and if we have a phone number on file, we will also be using like a kind of robocall kind of service to remind people. But that's the main the main update. More broadly, over the next 5 years, we do plan to get the remainder of the 30,000 systems into the program. So that's 25,000 systems. We're planning to have them all entered by 2030. So we're going to try and keep our workload consistent so that we can be as efficient as possible. So that's entering about 5,000 new systems in the county each year.
So
And-
eventually you're going to check every system, every home?
Administratively, so we're trying to keep the cost of the program down. We have to run this program to comply with the state. But most people don't want us in their backyards, and we don't want to have the staff to get in everybody's backyards. We're basically tracking it through paperwork. So we would get the pump report from the pumpers or a service report from our service providers. They're required to turn all of that paperwork into the health department within 60 days of doing the work. And they should be giving homeowners a copy as well. So we're tracking it through the paperwork. That way we can keep it the cost a lot lower.
So are the pumpers, the independent pumpers, are they going to be reporting to you when they go to someone's home?
Yeah, they've actually been required to do that since 2015. And so, yeah, they're doing that. It's a little bit difficult for us to follow up on it in some cases because we don't know what we're not getting, if you can follow the double negative there. If I don't get a report, I don't have a master schedule to know that they went there at all. I can't tell the difference between it didn't happen and I just didn't get it.
So basically you have a big pile of reports and nothing to compare it to.
Exactly. Right. So the last thing I will mention on those ones that are coming due we've talked to our prosecutor and what our process will be to follow up on those after all of these warnings. If people do not get it done, we actually will not be able to renew their permits. Not that anyone is super excited to have a septic permit that they have to pay for, but what that means is they will get a lake fee added to their permit, and then if they still don't get service or pumping done, we'll give them a little more time. What'd you say?
You turn off their toilets?
Not quite that. Then we are going to have to get in their backyard and do an on-site evaluation. And
They come out and put a bag of concrete in your D-box.
so, yeah, I mean, if you want to keep us out of your yard, the best thing to do is just take care of your system. That's the end of, that's the main point of the
So
whole
jump
thing.
ahead to 2030.
Mhm.
You've got on record that Gene has a standard septic system.
Yeah.
And so now you have something to coordinate the paperwork that comes in for his address for being pumped. Will you then have a tracking mechanism to say that, is there a pumping requirement like every 2 years or 3 years that you're going to implement, that if you don't get?
Yes, so exactly. So all the permits that I've been talking about so far today have been the 1-year permits. When we finally get to Auburn Township, I'm gonna come give you guys another visit if you'll have me and let you know that I'm getting to your area. Because we are entering people onto 5-year permits where the requirement is to have the system pumped or inspected or serviced. Really, in all of these cases, except for the ones that are like EPA regulated, we're happy if someone does anything during the permit period. I don't really care whether it's a pump or a service, but
So-
it'd be once every 5 years.
Like Mike said, I have a leach field. My house was built in '55.
Yeah,
My septic tank is as big as this room. My uncles and my father dug it by hand.
right.
Okay? It goes through the leach field and expires on my property.
Okay,
And I have it pumped because it's just my wife and I, every election, presidential election year.
okay, there you go.
Okay? So what are you going to check when you come to, or what is it you're going to ask me to do?
Yeah, so you'll get your permit the same time if you're here in Auburn, I assume. You'll get it the same time as all of your neighbors, pretty much. And it'll give you 5 years from that date, where everyone starts with a clean slate, 5 years from that date to have the tank pumped. If you get it pumped every 4 years, you're for sure gonna fall in that 5-year window. Your pumper should turn in the report on your behalf to us within 2 months of doing the work. If you get it done at the very last minute, then maybe you will have to turn it in yourself. Because they won't get it, if you do it at like the last 2 weeks or something. Or last
So you're
month.
saying there are people who don't regularly, on a schedule,
We
have
have-
their things pumped?
We have come across people who have not pumped their tank in 20 years.
Where's Dan today?
What?
Where is Dan today?
Yeah. And so that's really the kind of crux of the issue is the state passed this in the first place because they did a study in 2012 and they estimated about 30% of systems in Ohio were in some degree of failure. In Northeast Ohio, they said, I think 38%, and that actually lines up when we look back through our data. When we were running the mandatory for sale property program, there were about 40% of those systems, when evaluated, they failed.
Well, I know for a fact, there's people who live in Auburn in $1-million-dollar homes and have no idea they have a septic tank.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, yeah, I can understand it. I don't know how much you have new residents coming in from the cities. I know in some townships, there's a lot of influx from city folk who are not familiar with septics at all. And they're just happy not to be paying a sewer bill, but they don't really think about it. The toilet keeps flushing. Do you guys have a lot of that right now? Do you think?
We could write a book. We have people that move here and say, want to know why their cable's not working, because the builder told them their house was cable ready. We don't have cable.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Or I had someone call me and wanted to speak to the water department. We don't have a water department. I said, we have a well. And then there's dead silence. Where is it? It's in your yard somewhere. And then the next question is, what time is garbage pickup? When you hire someone to come and pick it up.
Yep.
Just some of the things we run into in Auburn.
Oh, yeah. No, exactly. So,
Except when they get mad, then they want to talk to the mayor.
yep, exactly.
And then we give Mike's number.
Yeah. So, I think that about covers it. Like I said, before we get to the point of sending out those 5-year permits in this area, because we are going township by township, I don't expect that we're gonna get here this year, maybe not even next. But when we do get to this area, we will, I'll reach out again and see if you'd like me to come give a talk to kind of like lay out a little more of the specifics and tell you what to expect. But we have started issuing those 5-year permits in Munson. We've done Munson so far.
I know what's going to happen. You're going to wait till I'm 100 years old and get ready to be put in a nursing home. And then you're going to tell me I need $100,000 to update my system before I sell my house, aren't you?
Actually, really, honestly, no. And that's the thing. So, a lot of the older systems, like, if it's working, it's, in my opinion, a lot of times are better than the new systems. Like, keep the thing working as long as you have it working, because the newer systems are kind of just a headache, to be honest, sometimes. Keep it working as long as you can. It's about $20,000 for a new system on average these days, but I will tell you, we will never fail a system purely based on age. Also, we're never going to be nitpicking about like, oh, well, it's not exactly up to current standards of like, compliance with the rule, like you actually need this much leach line, or you made an addition on your house. We don't, like, I'll be honest with you, like, we're trying to deal with the people who are causing the problems and causing bacterial pollution in the environment. We're not gonna try and go after those people. We're just worried about if people aren't doing anything to take care of their systems, and if it doesn't meet the bacterial standards where it could make someone sick. That's our designation.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions for Ms. Pinkney?
The last thing I should say is just that, I forgot to mention it, but the inspection, if we do have to come on someone's property, it did get passed, it would be $300. And that's kind of meant to be an incentive to just have it serviced. We really don't want to be in people's backyards, just get it serviced, we can't fix anything, so.
Okay.
All right.
Anybody? Mike? Anybody else? Nothing? Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you guys so much, you have a great one.
We're going to reward you by you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a great one.
Minute approval. Mr. Troyan, any additions, corrections?
No, I found them concise and correct, so I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay. So, there's only 2 people. Okay. Mike? Vote to?
Yes.
Okay. And Jean?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 2-0.
Okay, scheduled reports, and we will start with the Honorable Frank Kitco.
Okay, Jim, you should all have a copy of activity for April. You'll see there 9 variance/conditional uses. That's all related to the Ron DiNardo fiasco. The rest of them, 2 accessory buildings, a deck, an addition, those types of things. And we did have 1 new home, so now we have 2 new homes for the year. But Jane and I have spent a considerable amount of time on the DiNardo situation and of course, the coffee shop situation. They are now back. That's, for those of you who don't know, that's where Mrs. Zocco had her hair salon, or anyway, they're gonna make it a coffee shop, the new buyers and everything, and they're proposing big addition and everything, and it involves 2 zoning districts, and it's a little complicated, so we're trying to work with the architect and engineer, because part of it is if they tear the building down totally, then they have to comply with current new setbacks and side yards, so because the building doesn't meet current zoning, but it predates zoning, so it's grandfathered. So there's a lot of things we're working out with the parking and traffic flow and everything.
Were they still, I think originally they were gonna have a drive-through, is that
Yeah.
still on the?
Yeah, well, that was open for discussion today. Jane and I talked, because they responded back, because we told them that what they were showing doesn't meet what's required zoning-wise, so they wanted clarification, so he said, well, I understand now, so, but, so we'll see, but, you know, like I say, spent a lot of time reviewing and looking at, trying to decipher some of the things that are being proposed.
And what's DiNardo coming back with now?
Oh, he is again applying for a conditional zoning permit. But my position is the Board of Appeals cannot issue a conditional zoning permit or a conditional zoning approval subsequently with me issuing the final permit until the proposed project meets zoning requirements. And I think there's 7 or 8 things on his his proposed plans that don't meet current zoning. The biggest one being he has 4 lots. He refuses to put the 4 lots into one, but he wants us to calculate the setbacks and the side yards and everything when the lot doesn't meet zoning because it doesn't have the required frontage, first of all. The first thing is they're not combined lots, which he's known since 2017 when he sat right in here, in this room right here with myself and Mr. Eberly and the representative from ODOT telling them things that he would have to do. So they've known all along that they have to put these lots together. Without putting them together, they don't meet the road frontage because they don't have enough road frontage, you know, so that's number one. Number two, we can't calculate the location of the proposed building from property lines because we don't know which lot we're dealing with. He's showing things like, he's showing structures in front of the main building, which is not allowed without a variance. He's showing the height of these structures to exceed the height that we allow. He's exceeding lot coverage even if he puts all the lots together, he still may be exceeding lot coverage, and one of the things he wanted to do, and he withdrew this at the meeting, but he wanted the Board of Appeals to grant him, we allow 40% lot coverage, he wanted them to grant him 60% lot coverage. And he withdrew that, but I'm sure it's gonna come back, you know. But, and my point is, how can I issue a permit when the lots aren't together and it's basically a conceptual plan, and how can I, it's difficult to review, and we have what we call in our zoning required data. Required data means that you've gone to soil and water, you have made contact or applied for a septic or sewage permit, you have a driveway permit from the county engineer, or in this case, the state of Ohio, and he's saying that I don't have the right to ask for that, that'll come after I give, and he keeps saying that soil and water won't review his plan until I issue a zoning permit. That's an outright lie, because Camilla Shale says no. And I said, well, Mr. Donardo, how can you say that when everybody that builds a house comes in here with all these things before they get the zoning permit? They come here with a copy of a septic permit, a driveway permit, and that they've been to soil and water. And he said, well, you know, he's saying they don't want to spend the money to do all these things. And I'm saying, well, I can't issue permits until you do them.
I'm told at the meeting, he stood up and said, it's not a problem with those lots, that he owns all 4 lots anyway. What's the problem with him combining those lots? And if he did, the next part of my question is, does this make it any easier for him?
Well, it makes it easier for him to start the process and get reviewed, but still.
He still has a lot of issues.
Oh, yeah, he still has a lot of
Can
issues.
he do this still with what he's talking about as a truck stop is what he's talking about? Can he still do that without our lot?
Well, he can do what he's proposing if he can meet all, if he puts the lots together and gets the required road frontage, he'll then get the required road frontage. The big question is ODOT gonna let him, where is ODOT gonna let him put his driveway? That's a big question to me. But, you know, he's gonna have to get these variances, and I don't know if the Board of Appeals is gonna grant them or not. I can't speak for them, you know. And yeah, they own all the lots, but the lots are still not put together. And why do I think that he's reluctant to do it? Because, and this is something we've been trying to, we can't for sure say one way or another, but on the parcel in the front, which he needs for the road frontage, there are a bunch of deed restrictions. And some of those deed restrictions involve EPA because of the previous service gas station on the property and everything. Now the question is, if he combines those lots, do those restrictions
Apply to
all those lots? But he won't say that, you know. And but if you were to read the original deed restrictions, he can't do anything without BP or whoever BP is now approval. They have to approve everything. They have to, if he hauls any dirt, they have to approve where it's going, and they have to know where it's going, and they have to approve it. That's in the original restrictions. Now, those restrictions are 40-some years old, and
He kept contending that the at least when he was talking to us, that the restrictions that they've already passed.
Well, that's what he keeps saying,
He
but.
keeps saying that he hasn't given any documentation to that.
Right, they're very reluctant to give documentation, and that, I'm willing to work, and I told him this, I'm willing to work with you, but you're asking me to do all these things without you doing anything that I'm asking you. I have a list of required data here. It's been that way for 25 years or more, that you have to give me all this information. And I says, you want me to approve something with a rectangle shown on a map with some partial setbacks laid, or distances laid out, not even complete, off of a lot that doesn't have any road frontage, that doesn't meet zoning. I said, I can't do, I won't do it.
We have our rules and he's got to comply with them. He doesn't want to comply with them.
He said, well, who told you? I said, the prosecuting attorney has told me this. Now, whether it's am I saying it's the current? I said, no, it's not the current, it's prosecuting attorneys from the past that said, you have to have a legal lot, conforming lot, if you want to issue a permit. End of discussion. But she has now responded back to us that says pretty much that he should not be issued, he cannot legally go to the Board of Appeals until he does, he takes care of all these variance things he needs, or withdraws them, changes his drawing.
So this meeting that's coming up on the 10th, I saw a letter here somewhere about it.
Yeah,
Has he met all these things now?
No, he hasn't met any of them.
So then why are we having another meeting with him? Why would you schedule a meeting, not you, but why would a meeting be scheduled if he hasn't done the things he has to do first? What's this meeting, just gonna be another arguing thing?
Yeah,
Probably.
he's going to continue to explain why we shouldn't be able to do what we do.
I mean, Gene, I understand where you're coming from. I am so frustrated with the whole thing,
Just don't get frustrated,
and he
Frank.
won't, well, you can ask Diane, she was there, I asked him point blank, Ron, why won't you put these lots together and solve this problem? Did he answer? He refused to answer. He wouldn't even acknowledge it.
Okay.
Well, hey, those are our rules. If he doesn't comply with them,
Well, yeah,
then
that's
you're gonna have
that's
to-
my,
you're gonna-
I mean, I told Kristen this from the prosecutor. I said, Kristen, as far as I'm concerned, unless you tell me otherwise, I will not, only thing I'm gonna do is deny this because I do not have a valid lot. He wants to build across property lines, he wants to have shared driveway. I said, all of these things, I said, they're all violation of zoning.
So like I said, just keep doing what you're doing then, because
Well, yeah, I will.
that's all you can do. I mean, he can keep asking until the cows come home, we're still not
I
gonna give it to him.
think on this last submittal, I'm not sure. On this last submittal, he may have taken a weigh station out. See, he has a weigh station on at least two of his proposals. He has a weigh station, and the members of the board asked, what's the purpose of the weigh station?
Yeah,
And, and he,
because every truck stop has one.
yeah, so, but, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, they questioned me at the meeting why, about the variance. If I deny anybody for any reason, he or she has the right to go for a variance. That's all I was saying, And he was saying that, I didn't have that right. Well, everybody has that right. If you are denied a zoning permit, you have the right to ask to go to the Board of Appeals for a variance. But that's not what he asked for. He asked for a conditional use. My contention is the board shouldn't even hear it. My opinion, they shouldn't even hear it until he complies with zoning. But, we'll see what happens.
Okay. Any other questions for Frank Blake?
Yeah, I do.
Wait, Mike, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good.
Anybody from the audience?
Oh, thank you. Okay, just want to make sure that Mr. DiNardo is still on the program for next Tuesday then, with the BZA.
As far as I know. As far as I know,
I mean,
yes.
that doesn't, that doesn't dictate how it will end. Did he have to pay extra then for that second?
He will,
That's
well,
meeting?
no, he won't have to because it was continued.
It was continued.
It was-
That's what I thought I heard.
Right. Now, if he will have to, he's gonna have to pay for all the other issues because he doesn't want to address them all at one time, then if he has to come back, I think one member of at least one or two members of the Board of Appeals said, well, you're gonna have to come back and more than several more times, and he acknowledged that. Well, my contention is get those first and then we'll give you your conditional use.
Is this the same DiNardo that came here with his partners, or is this the father of those?
No,
guys?
they were both there, but it's the same one, yes. And he says he has a company, but he won't divulge who it is, whether it's Sheets or BP or Speedway or whatever. Originally, the guy that was here was Speedway. Remember he said to you guys, we're doing exactly what we did in Russell? Well, that's not what you're doing. You cannot park trucks overnight in Russell.
Nope.
I know, because I've been there several
Well,
times.
I think we all agreed, a gas station would be fine.
Yeah.
But not a truck stop.
Right.
And,
Well, the thing is, like I told, you're not gonna stop him from dispensing diesel fuel into a truck. That you're not gonna stop. But we do not want overnight parking, overnight trucks there or anything else. But now how does, it's interesting, I asked how Hitchin Post handles it. You can only get 50 gallons at a time at the Hitchin Post in one vehicle.
is that put on by the hitching post or us?
No, it's put on by them.
By them.
I don't know. But like I say, I don't know, I don't know, it's, this last proposal, I haven't looked at this part of it yet, but their attorneys, or his attorneys, have kind of now dictated what the conditions they will agree to. That's how it works. We set the conditions and you have to agree to them if you want your conditional use. So, but, see, because on his proposal also, on that lot, that's where the proposed retention basin will probably be put. And there, if you look at those deed restrictions and that EPA, well, one of the thing there is you cannot drill a well unless you go into it specifies a very deep aquifer, a well that you can drink from, bathe from, and such, In other words, a potable well that's serviceable water. So, but he keeps insisting those restrictions are gone, but I have no proof that he won't prove that they're gone, and there's gotta be a reason why
He
he
said
won't.
so, isn't that good enough?
Huh?
He said so, isn't that good enough?
No.
Okay, very good. Moving on.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you, Frank. Just stay the course, Frank. Don't get.
If I can
Stay
ask
the
a
course.
question.
Go ahead.
Has the city of Akron given any opinion on how close it is to Lynette?
No.
Do they know?
Well, we do not have to notify them because unfortunately they are not a contiguous property owner. There is somebody between his back parcel and the city of Akron. But I said something to Jane, I said, we should probably go ahead and notify, but then we have to be careful, because are we doing something we shouldn't be doing by notifying Akron, you know? I mean,
Well, if
we're
it-
making it a we're making public, it's public knowledge and everything, but, you know, to send them
But
a
we just send
formal-
notifications to contiguous property owners, so,
Right.
yeah, that would be overstepping our
Right,
bounds.
and it's, we don't wanna do something that,
But we couldn't stop a residence from contacting.
no,
No.
that's what I mean. But I just don't think, I think we would be, we might give them some kind of legal challenge to come back if we send Akron, and Akron came and raised hell, which I don't think they will, but, you know, who knows, Akron, they don't tell us anything, you know, they just do what they want. But, so.
Akron's trying to pump water in by the pipe through the west side of Cleveland, and when that happens, they won't even need these reservoirs anymore.
Remember when they made it open green space
Yeah.
here? And they came in there and said, you can't do that, and they brought their attorneys in and said, well, actually, we already did. They just shut up and they left, because
Okay, let's move on. Next is the Honorable Mike Fenstermaker, our Highway Superintendent.
Well, I guess I'll start with the cemetery work that was done, preparing for Memorial Day. We go into the cemeteries, we cut, brush back, trim bushes, just clean up the cemeteries and chip and rake and get everything cleaned up so it looks good for Memorial Day. We build forms and locate where, if somebody's gonna purchase a headstone, they let us know the size, we build a form and pour the concrete for that, get those ready. Typically, people like to do that right before Memorial Day. And then we seed, we go in with a tiller on a tractor, seed and straw all the new burials from, you know, through the winter, and that we get those all cleaned up, seeded, raked out, and get some grass growing. It was a little difficult this year because it's been so wet. It's really hard to work with mud, but we found a couple dry days and kind of made it work, but it wasn't much fun. We did, somebody built a bench up the cemetery, and they used some composite trim boards that fell off, so we screwed those back on with some stainless steel screws, so that shouldn't happen again. We did have a full burial over Memorial Day, so on top of everything else, it was a busy day that Saturday. We had the burial, and they were putting the flags up on all the veterans' headstones, and then other people were in and out that day, so it was kind of busy weekend. Stone huggers completed the third and final stage of repair and cleaning headstones. They do a great job. That was the donation from, I believe, Auburn Community Church. So that was the last stage of their donation. We did 3 years, $25,000 roughly each year.
And we have a check we already signed for them for this last phase.
So they've completed that last phase, so that's move on to Adam Hall. I did meet with a couple roofing contractors just to get some quotes, just to see what kind of a budget we need to set on the roof up there. If we go with shingles, which the one contractor, that's all he does is shingles, he seemed pretty good. Being in the business for 20-some years, I kind of know some of the details, and I talked to them about it, and he was very detail-oriented. I liked the guy, and he bid it about a little over $40,000, which I thought was pretty fair. Another roofing contractor, he does shingles, steel, and standing seam, which is very expensive. That's where you don't see the fasteners. His shingle price was $58,000. Corrugated metal, which is where you have the exposed fasteners, was $71,000, and then the standing seam was $128,000, which I'm not.
No question, over the long haul, that would be the best way to go,
Right.
but, yeah.
That's a lot
But then
of
the
money.
fire chief also added that the problem with the metal roofs is that, you know, they just go over the top of the shingles, you have a fire, and that stays enclosed in that building.
But you could probably require them to strip the shingles first, wouldn't you think, Rick? They could, you could make that requirement, you know, and I did set some of the specs, so these bids are with some specs with some pretty good products. It's not, and the amount of product they use, I spec'd out too, so, will help alleviate the leaking inside. It doesn't stop ice dams, but it'll help the leaking and the staining inside, what I had, you know, quote. But just to get some kind of budget number, I thought I'd bring some guys in and just kind of see what.
Well, that's what we're looking for now,
Yep.
so we can set up our budget for basically building maintenance over the next 5 years.
Right, and a fund.
Know what we're looking at, how much
whatever,
we should
you know.
set aside for it.
Right. With all the rain, I've had a lot of residential requests on ditching. A lot of them pretty warranted, you know, you get down there and you see some pretty major issues, so we've done a lot of ditching, a lot of resident requests, and there's 2 pages more of them. Ditching various places around the township. I've been on Taylor May, I've been on Stafford, Crackle, Settlers, several spots on Taylor May actually, and just trying to keep up with all the calls coming in. And then in the we're really trying to focus on the road projects that are coming up too. We've got to be prepared for those. Typically the county kind of goes out and assesses what needs done in those projects before they start. I haven't even got that information yet, but I've been trying to stay ahead of the game on those and get those prepped so that when the time comes, they can get right in there and get those going. It's kind of nice because there's a major project on Moreland, and by me being out there ditching and been trimming trees, mowing brush back, talked to a lot of the residents, and they got a major project coming in. They have a good understanding what's going to happen now. We had a couple issues with some of the structures they built, and they're aware of the issues, and they're complying, and they're going to move them. And so that's good that they all understand what's happening. I did have a couple sheriff's calls. We had to remove a deer on Bartholomew and White Oak that got hit. And we did have a tree come down on Bartholomew just west of Auburn Road. Up the park, I believe it was the Girl Scouts that built, it's kind of like a cabinet that contains some books if you want to read. You know, while you're,
Word exchange.
yeah, the door they built fell off. So Mikey and I built a new door and got that installed up there. That one should last quite a while. And then at the park, the trash is, it's getting busy up there, so we do check the trash at least twice a week, you know, to make sure that everything's cleaned out. We did get the roadside mower up and running. We lost the main hydraulic pump on it. We got that installed. He's been out mowing. The first profile in the whole township's done, which is basically kind of the berm area. And then the second profile is down to the front of the ditch, and that's what he's working on now. So he's working on that second profile. We did get all the flags installed along Washington Street for Memorial Day. Replaced all the military flags, so those were all new for Memorial Day. And like I said, we've been working pretty exclusively on the capital improvement projects of late. And right now we're re-gearing for the senior trash pickup and our large item trash days coming up this weekend. So
Is that Thursday, the seniors, is that
seniors
Thursday and Friday?
Friday. Mhm.
Better get my stuff out Wednesday, huh?
And then Saturday morning is the large item drop off at home.
You talk about ditching with all this rain we've had. I don't know if you happen to go by Auburn, Bainbridge Road there, right past Snyder and Bainbridge, that low right there.
Oh, yeah.
They were ditching the other day. I swear to God, those ditches are 6 feet deep. If you go in that ditch, they may not find you for a week.
We were ditching today and it looks dry, and you start ditching, it's just constant water flowing. I don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
It is so wet right now.
That's a fact. Any more questions for Mike? No. Mr. Troyan?
I'm good.
Does anyone from the audience have any questions?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Somebody hijacked the sign for Jennifer down at the end of Lindsay.
Okay.
That's been going for a long while. I don't, everybody who lives there knows where it's at, but strangers.
We've had some vandalism on Orange too, and they break the stop sign, they rock it till it breaks off, and they throw it in the front yard, and we put that up a couple times. The orange sign, they rip that out and they throw it, and
Well, the Jennifer sign, we should just investigate everybody named Jennifer in Auburn.
we'll get that put back up.
Michael, did you get the, in the Dew Trails, did you get those stop signs there squared away?
They're supposed to replace them with correct size.
Okay.
That's the last I heard. Now, they tore out the sign that's owned by ODOT, and they tore that one out.
I
That
know,
wasn't
I
good.
saw it. I saw
wasn't
that.
harmless, you know,
I
that-
drove in there and I see all these stop signs piled up. I said, oh my God, what's going
So we let
on?
ODOT know, and they will, whatever they put in there will get torn out, and they'll put their sign back up.
You know,
Sure.
If they
It
don't
kind of
mess
reminds
around.
me, you remember when they were building Derbyshire, and they were gonna put the gas light poles
Yeah.
all the way down the road, in the road easement right away? They had lamp posts that were gonna be lit all through the subdivision, and the lamp posts were in the road easement right away. And I can remember your predecessor saying, can you imagine in the winter going down there taking every one of them poles down at one time? Yeah, people sometimes they don't check, right,
Yeah.
Frank? They don't check what's allowed and what's not.
Good to see what kind of sense of humor they have.
And they want, they didn't, at first, they didn't want to back up. I remember, yeah.
You remember that? Yeah. Okay. Very good, thank you. Thank you, Mike. And we'll move on to trustees and fiscal officer reports, and we'll start with Mr. Troyan.
I just want a quick thank you to PJ for spearheading Memorial Day again, and even though he had a few glitches with trying to get a speaker and a few other things that we originally had a speaker that let us know like a week before that due to scheduling could so he was scurrying to get a new speaker in there, but speaker was excellent.
Very good, it was very nice.
So PJ always does a nice job with that, and we commend them and road department for all the work they did there.
And the speaker was excellent, too.
Yeah, it really was. So that was it, just a little thank you to the troops for making that a special event.
Just to continue on that a little bit, and I didn't stay after the services down at the corner. I know that PJ opens up the museum, and I don't know how long they keep the museum open or who goes in it or what, but
Yeah, typically about
an hour, because I was told that the people who run the Bainbridge Museum wanted to see it, and when they got there, it was already locked up and closed, so I don't know how quick they locked it up and
Well,
closed it.
it's really how many people go in there
Right,
when they leave. you know.
absolutely. And the reason I think they were going there is, I'm told that, remember Katie McGrath that used to work at the school, was putting together something at Gardner School, some kind of museum that represents Auburn and Bainbridge together. So maybe there's some things down there that maybe could get a lot more use than 1 hour every Memorial Day in that room. So I'll check with PJ and see if he knows how to get in touch with Katie, and maybe we can get some of that stuff up there where people can see it more often. You know.
Yeah, it'd be a good idea. I know there's some different school items up there and yearbooks and things like
Right.
that, and so it might be applicable.
All right. Just a couple things. On Tuesday, the 10th, the same day as your ZBA meeting, I'll be speaking at the Chagrin Valley Chamber of Commerce luncheon at Tanglewood, where they invite trustees, mayors, what have you, throughout the area, the Chagrin Valley area, to speak on what's going on in their villages, townships, and cities. So I'll be doing that. And I think we've got, we'll do that on new news. We had our annual walkthrough with the people from the Conservancy every year. I did not get it. I've walked with him the last 3 years. I did not this year because I didn't get the notice that he was coming. And I'm told, the reason I'm not getting it is for the same reason you may not be getting things, because you and I have not ever accepted a Auburn Township email. Like you, I just tell everybody to hit me at bman54@windstream.net. So Nancy said they went out under Eugene McCune at Auburn Township. I never got it, so for the first time I missed that walk. But it looks like, as I read his notes, that everything was pretty much the same, not too much problems. We have a few people infringing a little bit with a dirt pile and a flower garden, but it doesn't sound like anything that's disastrous, so we should be good with that. And there was also, we got a thing from the Buckley Company on the septic permit. We've progressed to the point where, please see the email below, the installation permit can be paid for and picked up by the installer when the time comes for you to move forward on this. As I mentioned last week, I gave a copy of the plans to Horizon Excavating to review for the bid. Is there anyone else you have in mind or prefer to use? So I don't know if there's anybody else you want them to get the bid on that when we're ready for it or not.
Bid on the septic?
Right. Didn't,
I thought, Skip,
Auburn Bainbridge.
Bainbridge Excavating was, I thought they were.
wasn't he with us when we first started?
I thought.
Yeah,
he
so
came
I'd
a
like to
couple
see him
meetings.
get it,
Yeah,
to get,
he
look
should
at
at
it
least
too.
bid on it,
If
sure.
you think of it, I'll give
I
you
could give him
this.
a call, sure.
And then you call Buckley and tell them that you also want them to
Okay.
look at that. Okay. Okay, then. I
You
think.
might keep your eyes open for maybe a third bidder also, because we don't know how much this is gonna be, so.
Right, and we forwarded that thing I read at the last meeting of why this would fall under, certain guidelines, so, we all said go with it, we'll see how that
Yeah.
plays out. And other than that, I'm gonna turn it over.
So this Buckley, they said all the specs already? So they
Yeah,
have
you
something
can
to-
apply for the permit when you're
So
ready.
they'll have all the specs and bid on
I
it.
suppose we should let the Land Conservancy know also. I think they wanna be part of that, so, which maybe we could wait till after it's in. Did I say that? I didn't say
It's
that.
not good.
I didn't hear him say that.
We'll table that. Table that.
Well, if he comes in with a $3 million quote for a septic system, that's all moot, so we shouldn't, I don't think we should bother them just yet.
Yeah, right. Okay, table that, right?
Okay.
Table that.
Okay, it's tabled.
You got that, right?
Yep.
You get
Nope,
it?
Didn't get it.
Table that?
It's tabled.
Okay. All right, you're on.
Okay, we have the fiscal officer report and the payment listing. There were 7 electronic payments processed for $50,484.30. There were 17 warrants processed for a little bit over $399,000 for a total of $449,792.71. And this is from May 19th until June 2nd. And Dan was able to reconcile the bank accounts, and our primary checking account balance was $920,069.65. The Star Ohio balance was $2,223,305.18 for a total of $3,143,374.83. And I think that's about it. We have a payment listing attached, and, yep.
Any questions for Lorraine from the audience? Thank you, Lorraine. Okay, we have no old business. New business, assigned address for parcel number 01-117979. GCE recommends 18160 Auburn Road. So, what do we do, make a motion for that, to assign that, or?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to assign that on Auburn Road as an address of 18160.
Yeah, accepting the county's recommendation.
Right.
Yes,
I'll second.
okay. Jean
Yes.
and Mike.
Yes. Why if anybody ever fights him on that and says, no, I want it to be this number?
Motion passed 2-0.
You know, speaking of addresses, you know, my address is 19056 Munn Road. Nobody can find me, ever. Because it's the way your house faces is what your address is. You have to come down Edward Lane to get to my house. And I have people say, I'm driving back and forth, I'm driving back and forth, I can't find you. Because I'm the only person that knows it's that where your house is facing the road that... I'm sorry, I just digress. Okay, franchise fees received. Charter Communications, $4,725.14. Mike, make the motion, you know where you want that to go.
I think maybe we should send that to the Land Acquisition and Improvement Fund.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay. Mike?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 2-0.
So we have some important save the dates coming up. On 6/5 and 6/6, that's Thursday and Friday of this week, senior trash pickup event. And on 6/7, the next day on Saturday, is the large item trash drop-off at Adam Hall, 8 to 1 p.m. And then again, next Tuesday, 6/10, the BZA meeting at Adam Hall at 7 o'clock, where we'll go back over what Frank just went over this night, and we'll see how that goes. And on July 3rd, I know it's getting a little ahead of us, but the Auburn Bainbridge fireworks at Kenston High School. And on 7/4, the next day, the annual 4th of July picnic and parade will kick off at 11 a.m. from the Meadow subdivision off Auburn Road and proceed to the fire station. Before we close this meeting, is there anyone from the audience that has a comment or a question or anything they'd like to go over before we adjourn? Speak now or forever hold your peace. With that, I'll make the motion of motions to adjourn this meeting.
I will second that emotion.
Okay, Jean?
Yes,
Mike?
Yes.
Motion
meeting
passed.
adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for having an interest in your township.